One.
Hey, welcome to another episode of the College Democrats of Salisbury University, the Jackasses podcast. Here for Ep.5. But this is kind of an unplanned episode because it is in response to sort of an emergency, a crisis that's been happening on our campus. My name is Jake Burdett. I'm the co-president of the SU Dems here, co-host of the podcast. And before I'm actually not going to explain the situation. We have some guests on to explain the situation. First, I have the other co-host.
Yes, and I'm Ethan Sensback, the vice president of the College Dems, your other co-host.
And now our two guests.
I'm Shania Yates. I'm president of NPHC, which is the National Pan-Hellenic Council, which oversees all Black Greek life.
I'm Jamil Charles, sophomore at SU. You might have seen me in the newspapers a lot of articles and stuff. I'm a member of the national NAACP. I'm just here to talk.
Yeah, and Jamil really has been sort of the main, or one of the main spokespeople in the press covering this situation that has been happening on Salisbury's campus for the last couple weeks. So, for people who, we have a lot of listeners to the podcast who aren't even on the Eastern Shore at all, let alone SU students. So, I guess would you one of you be able to catch people up to the situation starting from the first incident that happened in Fulton a couple weeks ago?
Okay. So I have a friend named Jay Copeland. You might not know him, but he's a theater major, I believe. He informed me about the first incident, and the first incident it was racially biased, but it was more of like a sexual derogatory bias. So the first incident happened, we told the administration, and they covered it with paint and they sent out an email. The second incident was the same exact thing, but just a little bit worse. More sexual derogatory terms, more racial slurs, but it was in a little more aggressive way. The administration did the same thing, painted over, sent out another email. The third time it happened, the same exact thing, and this time they sent out an email saying that they weren't gonna tolerate this. And then the fourth incident happened, which was a threatening and racial, derogatory terms. It was two messages the fourth time this time, and it pretty much was saying that they didn't want us here, and that it was a threatening term. It was basically saying that Sandy Hook was coming to SU for Black people. So it was this time it was more personal than the other times, even though we didn't like what was happening the other times. We just brushed it aside. But this time we spoke up about it. We came to the theater room in Fulton, and me and Jay went on social media and told people to rally at Fulton. That's when Monday happened. The same time the incident happened, we rallied and we talked to the administration. After that, the next day on Tuesday, we had a forum with the president, White, and now we're here.
Yeah, so, and just to clarify, when Jamil talks about these incidents happened several times, what he means by incident is everybody assumes it was a student at SU, but somebody in one of the stairwells in Fulton Hall on campus wrote, several times, different instances over the course of several weeks, different variations of racist and sexist vandalism, and so this last one that really blew things up on campus that happened this past Monday, and the day that we're recording this, it's Monday, November 11th. So last Monday, November 4th, the fourth time it happened, it actually escalated to a school shooting threat, and that's when people took it much more seriously than they did the first three times. But I want to go back to those first three times. What were the students asking that administration do about it after the first three times?
You said after the first three times, or
yeah,
during those three times? So during those three times, we had asked them to do something about it. But during those three occurrences, they just sent out emails. The fourth time, we basically just wanted a new, a new culture, basically. we've had problems as a community before these 4 incidents, and we just wanted them to take the stigma of how we feel on campus differently than the way they carry themselves and the way they let the community carry themselves, because basically the person that did this, not saying they got let off, but they didn't have fear in what they were doing. So we wanted them to let them initiate fear and make it harder for them to do something like that again and other things that occur on this campus.
So do you feel, and you know this goes to both of you, do you feel like after those first 3 times that administration did take the problem seriously or do everything that they could to try to avoid it from happening again?
I think that one of the main things that everybody asked for was cameras in the stairwells, and that wasn't done, so that gave the sense that it's not being taken seriously or it's not really cared about in a sense. So in that way, I do not think so. I don't think that the correct action was taken after the first incidents, and it kind of fed into what everybody felt already during the school, about the school in a sense.
Yeah, and when that sort of organic, just natural rally that I guess you and Jay both had a big part in planning, getting the word out about, when that happened on Monday in response to the Sandy Hook shooting threat, what would you say? There's, I mean, all 4 of us were there.
I mean, I've over, I don't know.
Probably like 200 people
students
at least in that room.
Packed in the room,
Yeah.
Completely unplanned.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's the moment when,
It started to get,
I think administration kind of saw that as maybe a wake-up call.
yeah,
That, I mean, the fact
Definitely.
that many people were mobilized so quickly.
Yeah.
Come out.
And-
just through social media terms.
Yeah.
And just like, we didn't just go on social media and say rally, we went on live and showed people where going on. And we had people in our lives like, oh, I'm on my way right now.
Yeah.
And you could see like the numbers going from like 80 to 50 and just the room filling in. It was just like, it was crazy.
And I think I found out on GroupMe or something for, you know, so.
yeah. I've never, I'm a senior here, although I went to Towson my freshman year, but I've never experienced anything like this. This is not, and people are saying this is not the most politically engaged campus,
Yeah.
unfortunately. So for something like this to happen that like mobilizes everybody is very rare, and it's unfortunate that it had to be something like this that got people together. But nonetheless, people did get together, and I don't think, because it was an unplanned thing, administration probably didn't even like plan to like be there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which
They-
is why like the president couldn't be there.
Yeah.
Yeah, because he was over the bridge at the time.
Mhm.
He didn't even like know what was going on. And that's what we were talking about, the communication between administration and the president himself. It's like they aren't prepared for something like this. So that's one of our main problems, and one of the main like solutions we're trying to make up is that how are they going to plan for this, how are they going to prepare for this in the meantime if something like this ever happens again.
Yeah.
I think one of the main concerns people had, specifically this came about in the forum, which you, I guess would say hosted, moderated, was that, you know, one of the president's main excuses is, oh, I'm over the bridge. But in situations like this, you're over the bridge, we need to have a backup person that can do all the same, you know.
Which is supposed to be Karen Olmsted.
Yeah, Olmsted, yeah.
Olmsted, yeah.
But something, once again, communication, big issue.
Mm-hmm. And not just communication, just not knowing what to do
Yeah.
in their preset anyway.
Like a certain plan that's in place.
Mhm.
I do want to say that I do like how they took the step, the emergency text that I think for the most part everybody
Yes.
got. I was very surprised. It was like, okay, that's
Yeah.
a good step.
So,
Like
Mm-hmm.
versus just like the alert us app and stuff like, oh no, there's a robbery on the loose. I don't know if you guys remember that a year or two ago. It was like someone escaped from jail, so be on the lookout.
Yeah.
So it's not just dire situations like that. It's like,
Yeah.
hey guys, this happened. Please be aware, be cautious.
Mhm.
Even
Yeah.
something that people may see as minor.
Yeah, that was like one big thing, complaint that people had is like, especially if you weren't a Fulton student where like the threats did happen, you know, this is the 4th instance of like racially motivated hate language being used. This time it has escalated to a shooting threat. So people are thinking like you should take this threat somewhat credibly, as this might be something that somebody actually tries to go through with, because you have the prior 3 instances of them doing the vandalism, but still they didn't seem to take it, as the police chief said, imminent. So
That
they
key
did,
word.
yeah, imminent, and which what really defines imminent is completely subjective. But they did not declare it as imminent at the time. So like they did eventually send an email exposing or informing people about it, but like no like rapid response text message system, which was a big complaint. And in that 5-day time period that's went by, now the university has come out with a emergency rapid response text message
Yeah, 'cause
system.
what the email was sent, I think 6 p.m.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, and it happened like
2 p.m. was the
Mhm.
it was first found.
yeah. So that was one instance where I guess the administration has been somewhat responsive to some of the demands of the students, but there's been, so we had the thing last Monday, the organic rally that just happened, and then the following day, because so many students came out the day before, the campus finally, or the administration finally realized how important it was, and they did call together some sort of town hall thing, which Shania, you did end up moderating, and you did a very good job. So let's talk about that event, because that really drew the campus
That
out.
was interesting.
Yeah, it was a very interesting event, not gonna lie. As you said, Shania did a very excellent job
Thank
moderating
you.
it, keeping it cool, like lowering the intensity level of it, because I mean these topics are sketchy. I mean not sketchy, but these topics are like hard to talk about, but they have to be talked about. And for the president to come there along with his wife, the administration, it was good. And for the people to come out and say what they had to say, it was good as well. And just having that second piece of what are the solutions that need to be said was a good effort as well. Even though we didn't get all the full solutions, because granted, it was the second day, but like taking that step to say, okay, I'm gonna listen to your solutions is a good step for the administration and the students themselves.
Yeah. So I assume, so that was this town hall thing that we're talking about happened 6 days ago, so last Tuesday. So I assume that there's probably been some planning going on behind the scenes.
I think it's been about 2. I wasn't able to go to anything because I needed that mental break ASAP.
Yes.
But it's been about at least 2 or 3 meetings since then
Mm-hmm.
that
So-
happened with administration. Because I know I was in class with Jake, and I had a missed call, and I was like, it texts you like you can see what the voicemail says. It says from the president's office. I said, how the hell did the president's office get my cell phone number? This isn't on GallNet. And then I stepped out, and then they called for the emergency meeting, and they're like, we need student leaders to hurry up and come at 11. Can you please make it? And I was like, okay. Sure. And then that's how it all kind of came to play. And I know some people kind of felt like, oh, well, they're kind of using the students in a sense, like me being up there. But I just want to clarify, that was definitely all me. I volunteered. Yeah. And it is kind of upsetting that the administration didn't know what to do, because they definitely did ask. It was what should we do? But it can be seen as upsetting on one point. But on the other hand, I also see it as they're reaching out, how can we communicate to you all better? And they ask, what do you think? We want to have this forum tonight, but we don't want to have it in Holloway, because then we don't want us to just be a panel up there, and then we're just talking down to the students. Mm-hmm. How should we set it up? Who should be talking? And then that's when Sierra Shermish and Tess Robinson, gosh, I'm forgetting everybody else. So a number of Dorian Rogers, everybody, we all came together and just kind of went over them. This is how you should talk. This is the type of tone and language you should be using. Do not go into this, because everybody will continue to get into your ass if you talk like this. So I think that them even saying, how can we help in a sense, although not all answers are going to be accepted. The whole we're doing everything we can, that's never going to be accepted in any world we live in. But just even taking that step to invite students to the table, I think that was a really good step.
Yeah, because honestly, just jumping off of what she's saying, the administration, they openly admit that they don't know
Yeah.
what to do. So our key steps right now as students are to bring solutions together and show them what they need to do. And that's going to be a key point in how we're going to be able to change the campus itself. Because we are behind closed doors on Shania's end and Shantez Robinson and them, they're doing the big stuff. Me, I'm just another person that's talking. I've been talking to David, Dorian, SGA. I've been working alongside with them. And it's good that town hall happened because a lot of speakers like me came out with solutions that I didn't even know I could think of. Because if the student body's working together, then that's the best way we can make solutions.
Yeah, and I think that's, that's probably why you sectioned that town hall into one of just the general, what are people's problems with SU, and then two, what are the solutions, what can we do about
I
it?
definitely wanted to make sure that we had separated because I know for a fact we would be sitting there all night if everybody wanted to voice exactly how they felt about being at Salisbury. So I said, we need to focus on solutions at a certain point and cut it off. And I knew that was going to be a struggle because one is kind of telling people, like, I know you still feel away, but please stop talking about that. Can you focus on this? And it still was like a little hard. It was kind of disappointing when like it did come to the solutions part. People were so tired of listening to people vent. A large number like kind of was like, okay, well, I have other stuff to do.
Yeah.
But I think that we still did get a decent amount of solutions, and even just having that opportunity to voice your true opinions was like therapeutic in a sense for a lot of people.
Yeah, especially to say it directly to the administration's face with like immunity, which they essentially gave us, because you very rarely have.
Yeah, it's a rare opportunity.
Yeah.
Especially to saying it could go on for hours. I mean, Mondays was highly emotional. And how many hours was Monday? 2?
3.
Longer than
3?
that,
And
yeah.
towards the end, we kind of cut it. And people would have stayed there for
definitely.
arguably 2-3 more hours.
I know there were the amount of messages I had while moderating. It was like, can I get the microphone next? You promised me next. I check my phone. And I'm like, guys, please don't kill me. I'm so sorry. I'm trying to make my way.
Yeah.
That's a tough position to be in.
It is.
All the hands up, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, in the same sense, like we're still giving them the option of having solutions. At the end of the town hall, Shania told them to give us the flashcards with all the solutions, and day by day we've been running through those solutions to see what are the best possible options for us in the administration to get to like key terms and stuff like that. And it was one of those things where I liked what happened, but at the same time I didn't, because when, like she said, when it came to solutions, I just seen a whole crowd of people just leave. I was like, bro, that's wild. But then I thought about it, and one of the multicultural heads, Richard Potter, had told me before the town hall meeting even happened, he said that during the civil rights movement, only at least like 15% of the blacks really made the decision of everything. The rest, either they knew about it, not complained in a sense, but they argued their point and then left it alone because they were afraid to speak up. But what's gonna take us to make change is the 15% of people that are working around the clock to get this stuff done.
Yeah, and there's definitely been people really emerging themselves as, at the forefront of this issue. I think both of you are, 2 of those people. So thank you for what you have done so far, but I do want to get into those solutions that we keep talking about now. So, I've heard a couple, commonly being thrown out there, but what seem to be sort of some of the top issues or top solutions that people are proposing out there? I could say a couple that
Yeah, you can go.
that I've heard.
Yeah.
I've had worksheets full of solutions. I'm sorry, I can't.
No worries.
We haven't gotten to the point where we
Yeah.
negated all of our solutions into
Yeah,
different forms.
it's kind of
It's
just
so
like,
many solutions. It's
we
like-
should do this, and
Yeah.
it's like, I really don't even know where to begin. The amount of
I don't know where to
it's more
begin.
ideas.
I mean, that was 3 of us just came from a previous organizing meeting, and that's very much the stage that I still see it in. Everyone's kind of shooting all these ideas. It's the overwhelming portion.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's the document that Shantez and some of the other leaders are coming up with is we have 100 different solutions, and it's all about now just narrowing it down to like maybe 5 or 10 very specific ones that are achievable and getting them in one central place. But some of the ones that I've heard thrown out there is, maybe the most basic one to solve like the immediate issue is this racist vandalism. It did happen 4 times, all in the same spot, in a stairwell where like not only can you do racist vandalism like that, but stairwells are also a common spot for sexual assault. So when people are asking for cameras in stairwells, I mean, that's one potential solution. I think another interesting thing about this whole situation that's been going on is it has raised just a broader conversation of like, it's not like racism on campus just started happening with this incident. And like, hearing everybody else talk really opened my eyes to like, I guess how bad it's been the past, 4 years, or that's how long everyone here has been here for, but obviously it was happening long before then. So people were talking about how do you just make a more inclusive campus culture in the first place. And something I've heard thrown around is like, just like they make us do, 2 mandatory history classes, why not make us add like what they're calling a diversity requirement. So you do have to take like an African American history course or something along those lines, to make people more
what's going on.
Yeah, exactly. So I guess the movement in general is still thinking about all those different solutions, but it's good that these conversations are.
Yeah, it's a lot going on right now. On Shania's side, she has her people that are going along, and I'm talking with Shantes Robinson almost every day about what's happening. I'm really close with the SGA right now. I'm talking with Dorian and David. We've been coming along with solutions and talking to other student leaders on what solutions we can possibly have, and even going into depth with the 5-year plan itself, even like adding things that help out the diversity in the community. Because one thing we do know is the school prides itself on diversity, but it's not always showing in a sense.
Honestly, I really think that we probably need to just move away from this whole diversity and inclusion term. I think we just need to do away with it because it doesn't work. And I think at our meeting earlier, I really like what that one guy said. It was like, you can have diversity and still have like white supremacy. You see it in corporations all the time. So frankly, I don't know what else we need to call it. I also heard like another staff member one time was like, diversity is a white man's word, just to like label something saying we're trying to include everybody, but as long as we give it this cool title, then we're doing our job. So I don't know what other synonym there needs to be for it. A different. Someone told me what the correct term needs to be.
But you forgot.
I completely forgot, and I think that once I remember it, that needs to be proposed, because I'm like, this whole stamping diversity on something doesn't make it diverse, and just because you have a couple brown people in a photo doesn't mean you're diverse. Yeah. Just because you have a couple brown people help the administration doesn't mean you're diverse. So I think we need to have a better word for it.
And that's a fact, because it's so funny because I had a coworker that told me about that. I'm not gonna name his name just for confidentiality. But he told me that if say for example, me and you went to like a PR firm, because that's my major, they would pick me even if we both had the same thing because I'm black, to say that, oh, I have a black person in the office.
If they don't have enough black people already, if they already have that one black person,
then Jay's getting
you're getting that job.
That's true. But if they don't, they're picking me because I'm the black guy. I'm the black friend, basically. And that term, diversity, I get it now because it's weird, low-key, to us. Like, we see these pictures of people like smiling that are our skin color, but when you come to campus, it's like, dang. Yeah. And it's not saying it's against white people. It's nothing wrong with white people. It's just.
I actually have a funny story. In my one of my political science classes, we were just like reflecting on everything, and one girl shared that she's been an orientation leader, and it was time for them to take pictures, but it was 3 of them, and they were all white. they scrambled to find any Black or Hispanic or colored person they could, and they could not find. All the other orientation leaders were busy or off campus and stuff. So they pulled like some staff or like student workers from Commons and was like, hey, can you put this on just so they could hop in the pictures? And this was over the summer.
Yeah.
Wow.
I was sitting in
Yeah.
class like,
Yeah.
That's different, right? That's very different.
Well, I think a great point that was just made about this, once again at this meeting we were just at, was talking about this 5-year strategic plan that they have. And what is it, section 2 is the big diversity section, and race doesn't come up once within that.
Really?
So then in that case, what are they even really talking about?
Yeah. No. So you're I guess making the point of like token representation is not enough. We need actual like.
Exactly.
so I wish I could. You know, there's like a word that's stuck in your head, you just can't remember it because
Yes.
the word has to have some type of action behind it versus just being a label. Like there's a difference between labels and
Some sort of power and influence. Yeah, you'll get it.
I know. I'm
We
gonna
got
3
time.
o'clock in the morning.
Yeah,
Jake.
Yeah.
There
Yeah,
was
text me.
another solution that I heard from somebody, and it was so surprising. I didn't even think about it. So coming in my freshman year last year, before we came here in the summertime, they made us do this long thing online where we had to we had to talk about rape, being drunk and stuff like that, taking care of people when like bullying and stuff, seeing people like suicidal. But not once in that thing I was clicking through, I'd never seen race at all.
No.
It's never about, it was not one thing about racism or like how to combat it or how to be like tolerant towards people. It's like if they could add like a portion, like the first portion could just be about racism and how it's going. Because listen, that thing was about 3 hours long. And literally I was sitting there clicking through. I'm like, okay. I clicked through and seen things that I didn't know about. I was like, okay, that's interesting. Even though I didn't want to do it, it still had me focused on it. So if you put racism as the, like, not the centerpiece, but the first thing on there, people are going to, even though some people are going to do it, you can't change people. But a lot of people will be like, oh, okay, that makes sense. I didn't know that. Okay, I got to do this and that.
Yeah.
It'll educate people more. Like, you can't, that's one thing you can't do. You can't change people, but you can educate people. And I know it costs, I guess, to some people it costs a lot to educate, but at the same time, the resources the school has, they should be able to put in little things like that that's not costing them money or resources.
They can find it in the budget, and it
Budget cut.
yeah, it is weird that they like seem to like want to put like, you know, their students of color front and center and kind of like, you know, parade them around like props, but then like not actually want to talk about race like when it's uncomfortable.
Because that's a difficult time. It's easy to put someone on the splash page of SU. It's more difficult to have actual changes to systemic problem in the campus.
Yeah, and I like that like some of the black students were like calling that out directly. They're like, I'm on your website and I'm in some of those pictures that you love to like flex about, like now make me feel actually proud to be like a part of this campus.
Yeah, and it's hard, bro. Like, honestly, just having like, I'm gonna confess to that. I didn't actually like mean to go to the media. I was at work and I got a call from the Washington Post and I was like, yo, it's the Washington Post. Just let's go, like whatever.
Yeah.
And it just happened. And I called Chantel. She was like, why did you do that? I was like, oh my God. I was like, it's
I know she did not say that nicely.
at all. She was like, why did you do that? I was like, okay, I'm sorry, I apologize. But I mean, I've been asking her. I should have came to her first because even since the situation started, I've been asking her for like guidance because I'm not gonna say I'm an advocate. I'm just another person just trying to.
She's also
help
your
out.
major, like about
Exactly,
to leave
she's
out.
in PR, so she was telling me how to talk, like what to say. So shout out to Shantez Robinson and all the NAACP people,
Right.
BSU, Greek life, because honestly, it's a lot of media attention is coming on me, but it's a lot of people that don't know about that are like way ahead of the curve.
Yeah.
So it's like. It's kind of a struggle because I looked it up and tomorrow's like the anniversary of Sandy Hook. So not saying I'm on my P's and Q's, but like every day since it's happened, I've been on my P's and Q's and stuff like that. And it's kind of scary to say the least. And I think it's and she was saying how she went home because of like the mental stress of it. Because to us, to put it on the students to find solutions and stuff, it's a burden. I'm not gonna lie to you. Like I couldn't even go to class like Wednesday because Tuesday was just so tiring. And I was sitting up all night like, I can't sleep because I don't know what could happen. tomorrow, the next day. So it's definitely a difficult process, but if we do get through this, it'll be a lot of change to come in the future.
Yeah, and like you're, transitioning perfectly, like stuff I wanted to ask about anyways, of like, we sat at that meeting last Monday, there was about 250 kids maybe, and that was like completely unplanned. The thing on Tuesday, I've heard estimates of maybe there was 1,000 students.
It was. So definitely got some feedback for that. In planning that Tuesday event, figured Holloway wasn't a good idea because it was too formal. So, AC fits around like 400 or so people. We should 400, maybe like a backup room. What is it like? Our first backup room was Purdue, and that was like 150. So we was like 500. That should be good.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, was that a mistake? They were like, why would you all
first.
not prepare for over 1,000 students? And I said, I didn't know that many of you
can't
cared.
see that coming.
I'm not even gonna lie to y'all. I came from work. I had to take the quickest shower I ever took in my life. I had to get my clothes on. I'm like, oh, there's stuff, and I was like, well, I gotta get over there. No.
Yeah, I definitely. That was easily about 1,000.
1,000 people, and
Because
every
we had
time.
4 backup rooms.
Yeah, because we did it in the biggest room we had, got filled immediately, had to go to the second biggest room, got filled immediately, third biggest room filled immediately, and just,
Yeah. I mean, people were definitely, I guess, upset in the moment, but when you're planning an event on this campus, you're not going to account for remotely even half of, how are you supposed to anticipate
We
that?
could have filled the football field with that.
yeah.
Yeah.
Honestly.
I kept joking about, that was easily SU's biggest, most well-attended, event that they've ever put in.
Yeah,
It was-
honestly.
I came out of my room in St. Martin. Dang. Where's my location? I ain't going to my room. Yeah, but saying whatever, blah, blah, blah. Came out of there, and I looked, I was like, yo, what is all that black? I was like, that's them? I was like,
It was a really nice sight. I don't know if you
It was
guys saw
crazy.
the post where it's everybody going down the library with black.
Oh, I didn't see it.
It was
It
on the
was
stairs. It was
so-
I was
beautiful.
watching everyone go up the stairs as
Yes.
we walked in. Yeah,
It was really.
Yeah.
It was a crazy sight.
It was a proud moment. I said,
Yeah.
"Wow,
I was shocked that many people came. I was expecting a good turnout after Monday,
Yeah.
but not just
the
the
substantial.
the sea of people.
And you
you
know,
look
it's
back
still-
and they're still coming.
it's crazy to see that many people come out and then still realize it's a good number of people who were still oblivious to all
Yes,
this."
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Because I mean, what is SU? 11,000? Is that the
Something like
number?
that.
So we're still
11,000.
if we have 1,000 people out,
So it's less than
10,000
a
other
10.
people don't know.
they're
Yeah.
sitting home.
Yeah.
Literally, my friends every day I see friends that I know come up to me, bro. I didn't even know. I'm so sorry. I'm
Yeah.
like, it's fine. I'm not the only one going
Yeah.
through it. We're all going through it. It's fine.
Well, now they know.
But it's and a lot of people don't know how to be allies. People that's not of black origin don't know how to be allies towards it. So that's another thing. I was talking about that racism thing inside of the thing we were doing over the summer on the computer. That could actually teach them how to help people that are going through something like that, because a lot of people don't know how to go into the topic itself of how to stop a person. You can't stop a person that's racist, but how to control the situation or how to help the friend that's going through something like that.
Yeah.
I think something that I've been talking a lot about recently with my friends too is the fact that it's on us a lot of the times in situations where you're in a group with, your mostly or all white friends, and someone says something, or around here typically, someone uses the N-word, it's on us to address that. It can be an uncomfortable conversation to call people out in that and go, oh, am I going to lose friends? Are they going to get, mad? But you have to.
Yeah.
That connection should, if it, to me, the other way around, I was taught that if I see something wrong, I address it. That's one of the reasons I spoke about this. If it was another, say if a person, say one of my friends was white and he said something about a Mexican, I'm going to call it out because that's right or wrong. Even if that's been my friend for years and I've never heard that, I'll cut that tie right there.
Yeah.
Or right. It's not right. To think about it oh, I'm going to lose friends, it's you're literally helping the oppressor by not doing anything at all. So by not saying anything, you're making it harder for your friend itself. And how can he trust you if you let that happen? It's just things like that.
We need to start having these conversations with people.
And and it's weird when us being black, having conversations with other people that are not black, it's an awkward conversation because even in my PR class, we had the conversation, and she did call me out saying, "Oh, you on the Washington Post?" She pulled up my video on the class and was like, "Yeah, this is Jamil," and it was really awkward. But it's like I'm not uncomfortable to have that conversation with them because even people that weren't my color, I seen that were upset. Like, bro, I did not know this happened to you, and you're really in class right now. I'm like, I gotta do what I gotta do. You gotta keep it pushing. But it's like, if you are a different color and you see something like that happening, you gotta speak up. Because if you don't speak up, you're making it worse for the people that have been oppressed, and you're letting the oppressor win.
Yeah.
So you'd say that's like a good way for like white and non-black people to be allies, is just like speak up on it, you know, and call it out as if it was your problem, kind of.
Because as a person that's white, you are the majority in America. So as the majority, how can I say it? Racism is taught, okay? So I'm gonna go like into psychology itself. So they say that when children are the age of 5 to 8, they learn from their parents. So if a child is playing with another child of color, a white kid and a black kid, they'll play together unless their parents come and intervene. That's what sets up the racism in today. Like, racism is not is a technique that's taught to people, which you're not gonna ever be able to stop racism, but you can contain it. You can make it harder for people to be racist. So it is like just saying educate yourself and the future generations that come with it, so that if something like this does happen again, they can stop it as well and be more prepared for it. Because a lot of people out here are like, oh, I never knew what to do. My parents didn't teach me. Because it's the same cycle that you can break if you educate yourself now and your parents. And your children. Yeah,
and just jumping back a little bit, the reason I brought up how many people came out on Tuesday, over 1,000 is the estimate, which is great. But it also, like, when you have a group of people that big, you know, sort of disjointed, how do you go about actually organizing that group, getting people on the same page? It sounds like maybe some leaders have emerged, people like Chantess, sort of taking, so has that been the strategies, like sort of appointing leaders within the community to kind of take charge on like developing that specific plan?
You find an answer, you let me know, because I still ain't figured it out.
I think that's the struggle right now.
Yeah, you find an answer, you give it to me, please.
And I'll be honest, me, David, and Dorian have been talking, and we're planning on having a meeting with like everyone. Like me, I know it sounds frustrating and tiring, but we're planning on having a meeting to like try to see if our goals are set together. Because right now it's like different groups. Yeah. And like we're literally trying to go to the same goal, but we don't want to knock each other off. Like and then all of a sudden it just spirals out of control, and now we don't know who's leading. Because honestly, we don't know who the leader is or leaders, because it's just a group of African students in different categories.
And none of us asked for this. This just happened.
Yeah.
This just happened.
Man, I was at work.
Yeah.
Cooking stir fry, bro. I don't know. I've been trying to maneuver my way through school, and all of a sudden Monday wasn't planned because I had went home for like a mental health break before this, because I was like, I need to go home. I'm tired. Because that shit was tiring. No, not saying the campus, but it's a tiring thing. College itself was tiring. And then all of a sudden this comes out. I'm like, bro.
And it's November. It's the crunch point of the semester.
I was literally in a staff member's office like a week before this happened. Like, we were having like some disagreements of some school rules and stuff they were trying to impose on Greek life. And like, as I'm trying to explain to her like why the MPHC wasn't agreeing to something, I was just like, not breaking down, crying, but just like, this is why we feel this way. Every day we're in class, every day we walk this campus, like, am I going to be that black person today? Do I need to address this? Why are they staring at me like I need to be that person? Oh my gosh, I wish somebody else would speak up, like every day. And then she's just like, disregarded everything I said. And I was just like, exactly the point. But, you know, by the time I moderated the event on Tuesday, it was like, I'm so proud of you. Thank you so much for stepping up and doing it. I'm like, wow.
Yeah.
So I think it also just like opening people's eyes to like their own prejudices, one of them,
Whatever it is.
whatever the
Whatever
term
the
is,
term-
open
yeah.
people's own eyes
Yeah.
to that, like certain things that they may not have considered. Because I'm like, man, there's no way that you just told me you're proud of me and thank me for doing that when I tried to explain it to you and you didn't care. So I think that just like working together and getting everybody to like see anything that they may have been misinformed about or fell victim to their own stereotypes can like definitely help.
Yeah.
Some of the scary things I seen, one of my friends told me, they were in a class because a lot of teachers have been talking about it. Some haven't. Like my science teacher, he kept it going. And I'm like, okay, whatever. I've heard what's going on. Either you're gonna say it or not. I still mess with him though. He cool. But she had told me a white male in her class had said that he felt victimized because he felt victimized because he feels as though he fit the characteristic of a person that works on the wall. And I was like, whoa,
Yeah.
what?
Yeah.
That doesn't make sense. It's stuff like that.
Yeah.
Like you don't even know you're privileged. It's like, that's weird. Why would you think you'd fit the characteristic of a person that would do that? Do you share the same view as that?
Mhm.
It's confusing. And it's like,
Woe is me.
that's what I'm
Yeah.
saying. Like,
Oh my
Well,
gosh.
I had history with Dr. Venosa, who canceled our exam on Thursday to have an in-class discussion about this. Shout out to him for that. He was explaining in his previous class, he had a student that, of course, was a white male actually get up and leave the discussion because they fundamentally disagreed on white privilege existing. So he couldn't
okay.
even sit down and listen. He just, I guess, stormed out of the room.
Had to blow
But it's
some
so
steam off.
fragile for some people.
Yeah.
why are you so upset that like the white male is being attacked when not one of those messages came against you? Like
Yeah.
literally saying racial slurs to us, and we have to be the ones that read it, and people of color are the ones wiping it down.
Yeah.
Like it's weird.
And I'm not exactly hearing all the black people on campus going around saying, "Oh, fuck all white people." They're all like,
Yeah,
I haven't
yeah.
heard that. In fact,
I never hear it. That's
I think
there's
they-
nothing that's said.
I was kind of wondering, like, God forbid somebody goes and writes like white people something,
Yeah.
and then it's going to be like you blacks did, and then all the black people is going to be looking at each other like,
It's like-
ain't nobody do that.
I thought about it, like it's like 10,000 white people in this campus. Like I'm not doing none of that.
We would not do that.
Yeah.
But I said, God, I hope they don't do that because I know there's just going to be like a
That's
War
just-
I
at
don't
55.
want a race war
No.
on campus. Yeah. No.
Yeah.
No, but yeah, there's definitely, we need more, white people should take this shit more seriously than they do, and like I'm glad that people were pointing that out, that, there wasn't enough white allies in the
So
room.
you need to show up to this.
Yeah.
Is essentially, I think
Yeah, if there's ever a time to like, show yourself to be an ally, it's now. Well, last question I want to ask, and then we got to wrap it up, because we are getting to that time. But so once we have this central list of solutions that we should have, I think Shantes said on Wednesday or Thursday, it's one thing to have the solutions. How do we utilize this momentum and this pressure that we have through things like the media to actually get the administration to enforce these solutions?
Well, I think each of us have a lot of more connections than a lot of people think. Like, I have a lot more connections that I didn't even know about. Like, my parents called me, like, what do you need done? I'm like, hold up, calm
Yeah.
down. We don't need to take this to the media yet. We're cool. It's a lot of people around the community as well, Salisbury, asking what they need. What do you need done? What do you need help with? Even the Wacomico County branch, I haven't got back to them yet, but they reached out to me saying, oh, we need you in the front lines. I'm like, hold up.
Yeah.
Calm down right now. We're getting our list of demands, and if things go smoothly, we won't have to do that.
Yeah.
So I heard the NAACP was down here today. They talked to one of my friends about the situation, and she was like, I don't know what's going on. I'm just in class. And it's like a lot of people are trying to get information, trying to help, and trying to like come from the outskirts. So if not like sending like any threatening message, not like any threatening things, but if it doesn't go well, I mean,
pull out the
It's
big
above
guns.
us, pulling the big guns out. I mean,
We got all this stuff in our back pocket
Yeah.
in case
Right.
we need
Yeah.
it.
I think the biggest thing with like students is we can't lose the fire.
Yeah.
Like I think
Yeah.
it's very easy to be upset for the first couple weeks, but then, you know, are you all going to feel as passionately when we get back in almost February?
Mhm.
Like, is everybody still going to be like, what have you done over winter break? Like, we need
Or
that accountability.
Even over Thanksgiving break.
Thanksgiving break.
Are we gonna come
Yeah.
back
Right.
and everyone's like,
Is it
well,
gonna
it's
be like,
finals,
yeah,
so
we're
I'm out. I'm
tired,
tapping out.
like,
Yeah.
you know, just
Yeah.
I think that's going to be like the biggest thing because as they felt that fire, they felt that pressure because we showed up and we showed out.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So if we keep showing up and showing out, they're not going to have a choice because I know they're definitely stressing out, waking up in the morning with their cup of coffee and they're like, oh, what am I going to have to deal with today? If we keep making them feel like that for a good enough time, then
And I think, you know, the point I keep making is we kind of have a perfect storm right now.
Yeah.
They're in the middle of launching this 5-year plan. President White's only been here a year. If we have an opportunity to get large things done, it's right now.
yeah.
yeah, what they don't know is like I have a lot of connections with alumni.
Mm.
Because my cousin was an alumnus here, and he has a lot of connections with the black alumni people. So he said, whatever you need, just text me right
Yeah.
now.
Yeah.
And it's like a lot of and I don't know if they hate me or not, but like I'm everywhere. Like it's bad. Like, I seen my mother called me because she was like, "Oh, Jamil, why are you in the Baltimore Sun?" I was like, "Oh man."
Yeah, big boy doing big boy knows.
That is our most powerful weapon, though, is the
Bad
university's fear of
Yeah.
having this be exposed as, you know, a racist school.
I mean,
And
they're
then,
trying to rebrand currently, essentially.
Mhm.
You know, so if now every time you Google them,
yeah.
Like every time you Google
every
them,
time this is like
Jamil
this
racial
Jamil
here
slur,
now.
Jamil
Yeah.
Charles so more than I'm like, oh
can
my
have that
god!
spotlight.
And I'm looked up. It's like 85 blogs with the same exact quote. I'm like, what did I do? I'm not getting a job.
No.
Yeah.
This will hopefully, you know,
Launch you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
show you to be a community leader.
It's people I didn't even know like hit me up like, listen, if you need this, I got you. I'm like, okay. And yeah, it was scary. Like just having that rally that day boosted like a lot of people. Like I had my thing on private. I had like 80 followers. I was like, whoa, because they were trying to watch. They were trying to watch the live. I was like, okay, let's calm down real quick. And they would give me their numbers like, oh, so like I said, like it's not threatening them. It's just saying if we really want to bring the big guns out,
Yeah.
it's gonna be what it be.
Yeah.
But just make the change now and we'll
Yeah.
do that.
We don't have
Because
to. Yeah.
exactly. I mean, I'm glad they took the pictures down. That's nice, but
Yeah.
yeah, we got more to do.
Yeah, the administration and SU as an institution, they've gotten a taste of what this pissed off student base is capable of, and now the ball is in their court. Once we come up with this official list of demands, the ball's in their court. If they want this all to go away, and maybe even make this a success for them,
Yeah.
then they can choose that path,
Yeah.
or they can choose to not
Choose
listen
a
to the
different
students,
path, yeah.
and
It's unfortunate.
their name will continue to get.
Because honestly, if they do successfully do something about this, it could bolster their
That's what I'm
Really,
saying.
yeah.
diversity rate. If you're
Yes.
really talking, because if we're really talking about it, don't they need like a diversity quota every
Probably.
like year for that to get money? So when you start
Probably.
hitting pockets, it gets
Yeah.
real sticky.
That's when they
Yeah.
pay attention.
real sticky.
Yeah. Well, I think we'll wrap it up there. Thank you both,
Yes,
Shania
thank
and Jamil, for coming on. That's episode 5 of the Jackasses. You can follow Twitter at SBY College Dems, personal Twitter at Jake_Burdett. If anybody else has any other things they want to.
Platforms or groups they want to shout out.
Yeah. No? Okay. All right. Shout out SU, NAACP, and Shantess Robinson for
Yeah.
helping us
Yes.
with
Shout
this
out.
stuff. Yes. Well, thank you. Have a good evening.